So a Southeast Portland woman says that she can't sell her home due to the homeless encampment across the street. What? I do not believe that for a second. What do we got going on here in Portland? The 3-bedroom home has been on the market for 3 months. Potential buyers cancel their showings once they see the homeless camp across the street. We got to get into this. We need to understand exactly what's going on in Portland, Oregon. Here we go. This is silliness. This is ridiculousness. You know what's ridiculous is that I haven't had more of these articles to cover of people going, oh my gosh, I can't sell my home. Because that's one of the cause and effect things when you just kind of allow things for a free for all. When you've decriminalized drugs and you allow basically shoplifting happen, you create this perfect ecosystem, and then you say, it's okay. Go ahead and live wherever you want. Just, put your RV, your tent. Hey, we'll even give you a tent. We'll even give you a tarp. We'll bring you hot soup. We'll bring you hot coffee. What do you need? And then you've got residents going, but I can't sell my house. The city of Portland needs to be doing more. It's like, okay, but you guys this is all part and parcel, right? Cause and effect. When you allow people to just live willy-nilly and do drugs, this is what you got going on. A for sale sign hangs outside a modest home in Southeast Portland. Across the street is a homeless camp where people struggle with their addictions to fentanyl. Yeah, but then they shouldn't be struggling on the sidewalk. They shouldn't be struggling on the street. Unsanctioned camping, hard no-go. But in a sanctuary city like Portland, remember, 10 years ago, it was like, just live wherever you want. It'll be fine. We love you. Just do your thing. It's okay. We're all inclusive here in Portland and San Fran and LA and Skid Row. And the list just keeps going on and on and on. And then when it really hits home with folks, the negative impact, the external, impact on their home from having this homeless encampment, the form of depreciation, that's when they're like, but the city should be doing more. Yeah, but you told the city to just let people live wherever. You did. You either did by not implicitly coming out and saying it or saying nothing. That's okay. Just let them live wherever. Some Portlanders are selling their homes in an effort to get away from the dual crisis of drugs and homelessness. They say it's becoming more visible throughout parts of Southeast Portland. Let's play a little video. Let's just play a little video here and see what the actual characters in this saga are like. Okay, here we go.
I know how much she wants out of here. I know how long she's been here. It's time for her to go, and she can't.
Her daughter, Mandy, has watched her report the camps to no avail.
I feel like Portland has a responsibility to clean up, to get their act together.
I can understand, I guess where they're coming from.
Dustin lives in the homeless camp across the street. He sees how it affects the neighborhood.
Well, it makes me feel bad for her.
Though Dustin faces common barriers, like no ID and an addiction to fentanyl.
It's not very fun. It's not very fun at all.
This campsite off Southeast Foster and 76th has been posted for removal. Those who live nearby say the city won't be able to address it until late July.
Well, what is she supposed to do? She's just supposed to sit it out until the end of July?
The city's latest data shows they've received nearly 3,000 new campsite reports in a week. They prioritize those that pose the highest health and safety risks, meaning this one was not at the top of their list. It's a system nearby businesses have no patience for.
All right, so you can kind of see what we're working with here, right? I mean, pretty standard stuff. What was really interesting to me was the comment, what am I supposed to do? Wait it out? Yeah. And if you're just waiting, if the camp has been there since the beginning of June and you're waiting until the end of July, I mean, that is not bad at all. There's some folks that have been living with these massive encampments for years and years. There's camps on every corner and things have just gotten out of hand since COVID, said Susie, whose home has been on the market for 3 months. It's located off Southeast 76th Avenue and Foster Road. Since June 1, there's been a camp on my corner. So the showings have been canceled, Susie said. Some don't want to get out of their car or even come to the door. Ladies and gentlemen, that is called a buyer's objection. Now, your job as a real estate broker and the managing broker of a real estate company selling said real estate is to eliminate said buyer objections, right? Make it so they're just like, where do I sign? How much earnest money can I give you so this can be mine, right? But you can't do a damn thing about an encampment. And here's the other thing. So external obsolescence is what we're talking about. That's a form of depreciation, right? You got physical, functional, external, the three forms of depreciation on a property. Now, external obsolescence is something outside that can impact you. It could be like rising interest rates. Is that impacting the market? Yeah. The whole, globally, that's, on a national basis, that's been happening. You're on a busy road. That's another form of external obsolescence, right? Can't really do much about that because you can't change the location of real estate. So then when you've got something like a homeless encampment, that is temporary external obsolescence. And the comparison there might be to, all right, the road that your home sits on is undergoing massive construction. So you're going to have some temporary external obsolescence for the summer as they're rebuilding the road, right? But this homeless encampment, this is such a touch and go. Is it going to be there? Are they going to clear them out? What's going to happen? We don't know. Buyers don't want to deal with that. Buyers are like, yeah, I am not dealing with that. And here's the other major thing. Interest rates have risen heavily. Now you're going to start to see them coming back down. And I think we'll have another run here in not too long, but we need some more economic data to come back. So interest rates have, gone up from, call it 2 3/4 at their very lowest up to about 7%. Even a home like this, a modest home in Portland, I am guessing that's a $600,000 home. Maybe I'm off by a hundy on either side. Maybe it's a $500,000 home. Either which way, your payment on that bad boy at, 6 3/4 is way more than what it was at 3% or 3.5% or 4%, right? So if there's anything wrong with the location or anything wrong with the house, people are going to go, yeah, no, we're not dealing with that. So when the market was hot during the pandemic, homeless encampment, who cares? Give me the home. Want the home. Yeah, my payment's going to be $6,500 a month. And I got to look at that across the street. I don't think so. That's not what we're doing. And that's exactly what you've got going on right now. And a lot of buyers are waiting for those interest rates to come down. So if they're not forced to buy, they're just going to sit on something and go, all right, I'm going to wait for that price to come down and I'm going to wait for those mortgage rates to come down. You can't really blame them, especially if they're driving down the street going, oh God, is that a camper? Oh, that's a homeless encampment. Honey, this is a no-go. Daddy, can we go inside? No. Don't get out of don't wave at that person. Yeah, that's that standard dad, conversation is dad's driving down the street. Get your head in the car. What are you guys doing? You guys a bunch of animals back there? That's how it was driving my kids anyway. So Susie said she dropped the price by 15 grand. All right, that's not enough. You need a whack on that bad boy. You need 50. I'm just armchairing this. I have no idea. I haven't looked at the data. I haven't assessed the situation. I haven't walked the property. Yeah, I'm armchairing it here. 50K, drop it. You'll be golden. So how do I feel? Sad. Sad for the whole city. Sad for the neighborhoods. Sad that this is going on. And it feels like no one's even making a difference or doing anything, she said. Well, somebody let this all happen because other towns and other cities don't allow people to just squat and do drugs wherever the F they feel like. Huh. So this is one of those consequences things. You allowed it to happen. Now you're stuck with it. Genie's out of the bottle. You ain't getting it back. Not happening, right? So yes, I feel bad as well, but no, I really don't. I really don't. If you are in a city that's allowed this to happen, that's on you. And you have two options. Stick it out, stop complaining, sell, move on. Those are your options. That's what you got. I know how much she wants out of here. I know how long she's been here. It's time for her to go and she can't. So now this is becoming a nuisance because mom needs to go. Mom needs to sell. Mom can't because mom's hosed because of riffraff across the street, like the poor kid saying, I feel bad for him, but I don't have an ID. What happened to your ID, son? What are we doing? Driver's license? Okay. What have you got some outstanding warrants? Okay. You've got a problem. That kid needs to be in treatment somewhere, getting the help that he needs. And then he wouldn't be living on the sidewalk, impacting the marketability of this home, period. And this has been going on for years and years and years. Any community that has a homeless encampment. But I think, in close proximity to it. But I think what's happening is people are realizing these aren't people just down on their luck. These are drug addicts. And sometimes they set their camps on fire. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of guns. There's stolen goods. You hear screaming from women in the middle of night. What's going on there? Weird. What do we got going on? It's horrible. Nobody wants to live around that. Homes are being broken into, right? I mean, this is not hard stuff to figure out. So as the camp across the street is where Dustin stays, he's been homeless in Portland for 5 years and struggles with an addiction to fentanyl. He sat beside his dog and a pint of melted vanilla ice cream. Okay. He needs to be in treatment. He's been doing it for long enough where he's probably not even getting high anymore. He's just maintaining, right? He didn't look like he was having a great time. None of these kids are, right? And adults and whatever they are. He sees how this camp affects the neighborhood. It makes me feel bad for her, he said of Susie not being able to sell her home, but not bad enough to do anything about it. Hey, you're part of the cause of this problem. I'm not saying you move the encampment and the house sells. It might be wildly overpriced. It might have a floor plan that's just screwed up. It might have some major deferred maintenance that needs addressing. Those might be part of the reasons the house isn't selling. It might just be wildly overpriced. We get that all the time. Hey, you need to drop your house $250,000. What? Oh no, I mean, you're the homeowner. You know better than a real estate appraiser and mortgage and real estate broker that's been doing it for years and years and years. I'm sure you're fine on your price. We'll just go with yours. I have those conversations all the time. Hey, Sean, I dropped my price a lot. My house sold. It's like, really? Okay. Yeah. All right. Huh. Weird. Who gave you that advice? He sees how his camps affect the neighborhood. It makes me feel bad for him, but yeah, just not that bad, right? Not that bad. And you are essentially living illegally for free. So do you feel bad about that? His campsite's been posted for removal. Those who live in the neighborhood said the city won't be able to address it until late July. That's some quick removal action in Portland. That's quick. You know how many homeless encampments they have? I mean, it is, we're coming up on 1,000. I mean, that's insane, right? Well, what is she supposed to do? She's just supposed to sit it out until the end of July, Mandy asked. Well, what are her options? What are the options here, young lady? What options do you want us to give? Do you want the city to run out and clear your encampment because mom's home's on the market? I would like to say that that's a thing, but unfortunately it is not. This is the cause and effect of years of decision making, and the city of Portland has decided that homeless encampments just everywhere willy-nilly are okay. Well, now they've kind of decided they're not because of the cause and effect action that it's having. So now you're going to have businesses leaving, and now you've got people trying to sell their damn houses, and they're not selling. I mean, do we need to look at this 10 ways from Sunday? I don't think we do. This is pretty basic stuff. You allow this kind of stuff to happen. By that, I mean the decriminalization of drugs, the decriminalization of shoplifting. They allow people to live in a tent, shoot up, do whatever, willy-nilly. It's all good. We're all inclusive. We believe in you as a human being until you gotta sell a home. And then, all those ideals. The rubber is hitting the road and it's going the wrong direction. Yeah, we don't have that, that positive grade that we need. We're going the wrong way. The city's latest data shows that they've received nearly 3,000 new campsite reports in the week of June 12th to the 18th. Let me read that again. 3,000 new campsite reports in the week of June 12th to the 18th. 3,000. They prioritize removing camps that pose the highest health and safety risks. This camp was not at the top of the list. But okay, but it's going to be swept. That's pretty damn good. I mean, time-wise. Now, I know this lady's got a house on the market. It's like, okay, and you just got to work your way through that. You can either go across the way and talk with the people and say, hey, here's the deal. Do all these rigs run? If they do, I'm going to give you $500. You guys split it up. I need you out of here. And you guys got to go. Maybe it's $1,000. Whatever it is, you got to take charge and make that happen. Maybe you've got, somebody who has an RV across the street that it doesn't run. Okay, that's fine. Hey, I'm going to pay you $500. I'm going to bring a big truck in here. We're going to tow it a block down the road to where there's another encampment, and we're going to set you up there. How about that? So at least you get the external obsolescence away from across the street. Maybe you can't do that. Well, then you're hosed. You're hosed, because there is no way that, Mr. and Mrs. Homemaker and Johnny and Susie in the back seat are going to want to take that risk living in a home and purchasing a home. Let me spend $750,000 and live across from a homeless encampment. That's something that home buyers don't typically, that's not a road they want to go down. So it's a time. So we've got 3,000 new campsites in the week of June 12th to the 18th. It's a timeline that nearby businesses have no patience for. Classic Auto Body on 75th Avenue in Foster had a break-in on Sunday. This was a story in and of itself. Took about 40 years worth of tools is what they lost in the robbery, which was over $200,000 worth of tools, said Schubert, a mechanic at the auto shop. It's hard to say who did it, but he believes it's people living in nearby homeless camps. Okay, I would say that is a solid guess. I would go with yes, that is a solid guess. And, people who allow homelessness to just, let them live wherever, are also complicit in the idea that, well, they're stealing tools because they need them. They don't have enough means to purchase said tools. They're working really hard. They needed those tools to do their job. No, they're going to hawk them for drugs, right? It's like AOC saying, well, people are stealing sandwiches and baby diapers because they don't have them. Like, no, they're using them to sell and purchase drugs, period. That's what you got going on. And people are finally starting to have those gears turn. Oh, this might actually impact me. Good Lord. What's going on? We need to get the city out here pronto. Where is the city in all of this? It used to be a city everybody wanted to come to, and now it's a city that everybody avoids, Schubert said. I don't know that Portland will ever get back to what it once was, Susie said. Starting next week, several rules targeting homeless camps go into effect. But those who live and work in these parts of Southeast Portland don't see how that'll change things. Because so Portland is on the road to trying to make some inroads on homelessness, drugs, and everything. But they've gone so far down that left road that they're going to have to climb, uphill for a long time with no brakes and no support. And, it's just going to be a long haul. I don't think they have the political will to do it. I don't think the citizens of Portland know what to do. The conservative ones do. They've been moving out for a long time, right? They're like, I don't really want to live around that. This doesn't really do anything for me. But for the average citizens of Portland, I think it's taken this long. And by average, I mean more liberal folks that are more tolerant. Well, now, you couldn't run this news story probably 2 or 3 years ago. You couldn't do that because you would be putting down an entire set of folks just for living in a tent. Those poor people living in the encampments. That's what all the news stories were, right? When we really started to see the explosion of homelessness and tents during the pandemic, because the CDC said, don't sweep any of them, let them go. And though they did, they grew like mushrooms, right? They just, and then people are like, they're still fine. They're okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I've been reporting on it, since CHOP. I have been reporting on this heavily because I was like, what is all of this migratory tent homeless culture here? What do we got? Oh yeah, it's drugs. That's what it's based on. It's drugs. And it's essentially been, this is nothing new, but I think people are finally getting to that point where they're like, oh, this really impacts me. This, I can't sell my home. I need to move on with my life. Gosh darn it. You people in tents, all you drug addicts out there, you guys got to get off my block. You guys got to go. These indignant people. What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to wait? If you only have to wait till the end of July, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Because some of these areas. Okay. So let's go back to Portland is going to basically make being homeless, and they're trying to outlaw some of the drug use, make it illegal to take drugs in public, that kind of thing. There's a number of different situations where they're saying, yep, it's not okay. It's illegal to, set up a homeless encampment, outside of schools, a bunch of criteria like that. But here in the burbs, is that going to really have much of an impact on things? No, it won't. It won't. And so folks like this are stuck. And you know what? I would say, hey, I am really sorry to hear that, but this is the general idea that Portland has had. And now, instead of that feel good, warm, fuzzy, hey, we just want to help our unhoused, neighbors live life the best they can. Now they're more like those damn homeless people. They need to move. The city needs to be doing something. All of a sudden, everybody turns just a scooch more conservative. It's like, what's the definition of a conservative? That's a liberal that just got mugged. It's a massive oversimplification, but it's true. Now, and a lot of this has to do with the real estate market has really slowed down. Residential real estate has slowed down immensely. It's still kicking along. Because stuff still will happen. Somebody's got to move. Somebody's got to buy. But if you've got a home that's in close proximity to the homeless encampments, or if you're in an area where that's being impacted, even in a community like Portland, I have people ask me all the time, Sean, how come prices haven't dropped out of the, sky? Why haven't they fallen on housing prices in an area like Portland? You've had, same situation in so many other cities. You've got a massive undersupply, and believe it or not, Portland has a lot of jobs. They do. I know it's weird, but people like to live in Portland. But we've got that but now. But there's some issues that are being worked on. No, I think a lot of people know, buying a home in Portland, depends where you are, right? Depends where you are. And this home here, it's in Southeast Portland. It's had its fair share of issues, just like many areas of Portland, but more so in Southeast. When you see all the Southeast addresses and all the crime stories and crime reports, that's where you're kind of like, okay, yeah, this is happening down in that neighborhood. And that sucks for this seller, but you either got to figure it out or just realize, hey, you know what? I probably contributed to this over the years with my inaction and my just, faking compassion for these folks, when in fact it was like, 3 blocks over and I just didn't really care because it was impacting those guys over there. Now that it's on your block and you're all outraged and, mom's got to go. All right. Yeah. But this is going to be a long time. This could be a long time sell. This house could be on the market for a while. But the supply issue, and there's still demand for housing in Portland, believe it or not. I know. We talk about a lot of the bad things here in on this show about cities that have suffered. But, you haven't seen a massive drop in values because you still got people coming there for employment. People still want to live in Portland. There's a ton of tourists that go to Portland. There's a ton of tourists that go to Seattle. And then, something happens to one of them every now and then, and people are like, don't go there. It's like, well, yeah, we've been talking about some of this stuff for a long, long time. This is nothing new. Homeless encampments in Southeast Portland are nothing new. You know what I mean? But now I think it's almost en vogue. Okay, we know that we need to turn the city around, and we're going to start with those homeless encampments. Then we're going to start with the fentanyl crisis. We're going to get to the bottom. We're going to start with the vandalism. We're going to start with the graffiti. We're going to start with the, people robbing businesses, 200 grand's worth of tools. I mean, that's enough to put a shop down, right? If you're any kind of mechanic, you know the value of your tools, and it's not the individual value of each piece. That's the collective value, because you went out and bought some of those tools specifically for a specific job. You know what I mean? It's your sphere of what you're working on. When you get that full collection, when a shop gets everything that they need, and then they got to go out and recreate it, what a drag. What a drag. I mean, just whole thing, terrible. Again, that business has been in that location for years and years and years, just like the homeowner. There are folks within that business who have been complicit by, some would say, yeah, but they can't really do anything about it. Make it known, make that vote count. That's what you do. But when you got knucklehead, like any number of the people in leadership in Portland, what do you expect? This is what you get. And now that I do this podcast, this house is probably sold. It's probably pending. It probably went, pending the day after the market, after this video hit. But no, it's tough to sell a house when you got something wrong like that, right? And there are so many areas in Seattle. And unfortunately, a lot of the ones in Seattle are in really good locations because they're close to downtown. They're just on the outskirts of services. And those prices have not dropped. They're a little bit less than clearly something, half a mile over that's in an area where there's no tents. Now, you're going to have better demand for the stuff that's just outside than stuff that's immediately facing it. And with these encampments, like we had the Ship Canal Bridge encampment here in Seattle underneath I-5, just shenanigans for days out of that. I mean, fireworks onto the freeway. I mean, just some, nutty stuff. Marinas being set on fire. And, it took a long time to clean that up. But when they did, you left Wallingford Wallingford is just it's this cool neighborhood with big views over Lake Union. You see the Space Needle. So you can clean this up, or better yet, you could never allow it to start in the first place. Just letting people live willy-nilly in a tent is a terrible idea. You can't have that in society. You just can't. You can't let people live wherever they want. You either got to get them the help, or help them get the help that they need. And those are basically the same things, right? Or you move them on to a situation where they can get help, but you can't just let them live there willy-nilly. A lot of folks want to say, well, Sean, that's not very inclusive. That's not very respectful. They're just down on their luck. Nah, they're living illegally doing drugs. And then they're doing illegal things to pay for said drugs. The kid that we saw in this video, and I say kid, he could be, 35, 40. I don't know. Is he late 20s maybe? And I don't want to be disrespectful to him, but if you don't have an ID, there's something going on. If you don't have an ID, you're not working. So how are you paying for those drugs? What are you doing to buy those drugs? Probably not working at the local grocery store or Home Depot, are you? No. So if you're allowing people to live in tents, that is what you are allowing as well. You are allowing a lifestyle based on crime to permeate your neighborhood, permeate your community. Nothing else. All the nonsense that all the activists want to talk about, it's just that. It's a bunch of psychobabble that makes no sense. The rubber that hits the road is, you can't sell your house. Oh, wow, that's not good. No, don't let it start. Don't let that nonsense start. It's terrible. It's terrible for everybody. But, in these liberal cities, it's like, we just want to help our unhoused friends just live comfortably wherever. Do you need a tent? Do you need a tarp? Do you need some hot coffee? I always say hot coffee, but even though it's the middle of summer, because coffee is something in the Pacific Northwest, people always just drink coffee because it's cold most of the year here. It is not warm like LA. All right, that's it for me on this one, but I will keep you updated. When I see when this thing sells, I'm going to try and track this home, see what it sells for. Is it going to have a massive price drop? Sounds like they're already on their way. Is it marketable right now? The answer is yes. At what price? That is the deciding factor, because everything, you can sell everything. It's just a matter of how much. What's it going to take? How can I have this in my life? All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.